Okay. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining today. We're excited to get some time together and talk a little bit about the Robotics Institute Summer Scholars. We have a series of informal talks with alumni and program team members. And today I'm joined by Morgan Grimm. And Morgan and I will be sharing our experiences and some background with the Robotics Institute Summer Scholars Program. And we're looking forward to answering some questions and sharing some ideas. So throughout our conversation here, please feel free to add any questions into the chat, and then we'll go through and provide some additional information. So welcome, and we're so glad that you're joining us today. So what is the Robotics Institute Summer Scholarship? The first thing to know is that the applications are open. They're open now. So the Robotics Institute at Carnegie Mellon University is part of a top research university that has strengths in many different areas and is really well known for our rankings within technical fields, including computer science, machine learning, and many others. So within the Robotics Institute is really a concentration of pioneers in robotics education research, and really a large group of educators and researchers from that look from our heritage until now. We're one of the largest robotics research groups in the world, and one of the birthplaces of autonomous vehicles. So there are more than 60 different labs within this department alone. So we call it the Robotics Institute, but it's an academic department at Carnegie Mellon University within the School of Computer Science. And one of the special things about the Robotics Institute community is really the breadth and depth of research projects. So RIS is really special because we're located here within the Institute, and together we get to really explore and interact with people that are moving forward robotics and related and adjacent sciences in amazing ways. So I want to talk a little bit about what RIS is, and you may be familiar with like an RU program, which is a research experience for undergraduates, and you'll hear that term RU a lot. So what is an RU? In some ways, it could be akin to a research internship, but RIS is really a research fellowship. So it's an undergraduate research learning community. And it's really important that this is different from an internship. You're coming to, when you're selected to join RIS, you're coming to be part of a learning community. And you're going to be conducting research rather than you're going to be adding to existing research projects and making specific contributions. And Morgan will be talking a lot about the community that you'll be joining and some of the ways that we come together as a community. There's a lot of different professional development and other aspects to the RIS program. Something that's also very special about the RIS program is we forge really strong bridges into graduate programs. So we're looking to help students apply to the really top ranked research programs for masters and PhDs. So you come and you join the Robotics Institute Summer Scholars for a summer. You have three aspects of it, and I'm going to talk about the first two, and then ask my colleague Morgan to share more about the community aspects. So the first aspect of the Summer Scholar Program is guided research. And a great way to learn about the research projects is to go to the RIS website. You're going to see examples through the research showcase of prior projects. You'll see videos, you'll see posters, and you'll see papers as well. This is a great way to get integrated into the body of research that's possible for undergraduate students when they're participating in RIS. Second, there's a lot of professional development. So I mentioned that we're trying to build this bridge into graduate school, right? And help students be really successful in winning acceptance into master's and PhD programs, and also winning fellowships and scholarships as well, because it opens up future doors for you. And so we walk through a number of professional developments, some that are technical, because when you come to risk, maybe you've only had a few research experiences, or maybe this is your first research experience. So something special about the Institute, the School of Computer Science in Carnegie Mellon, is that you get to really explore such a greater expanse of how robotics can have impact and what people are doing at the forefront of this science. Then we also look at ways to engage with the community, teaching and learning together. And we also work a lot on, we have flagship projects like Robo Launch is an online series where we get to meet with and hear about research from around the world, different universities that are really cutting edge in robotics. This past summer, we did a lot that looked at safety in robotics, which is such a key topic, right? And then finally, one of the key elements around professional development is to help you to think about, to create a framework and a pathway to apply for graduate programs. And so that's writing workshops, that's poster development, that's, scholar development in different areas. That kind of support begins during the summer and then carries through. So we're continuing to work with scholars as they're applying for graduate programs, and also continue to meet with scholars that are earlier in their academic career that will be, doing another research summer, or, exploring other opportunities as well. And finally, one of the best things about the risk program, and I think a differentiating factor, is what we talked about and mentioned earlier about being a learning community. And the key word there is community. So I'm going to mention a few words and then invite my colleague Morgan Grimm to really share some ideas and help us to understand what we mean about community, mentorship, what we're striving for, this nurturing environment. So, Morgan, can you share with us your experiences and thoughts on that aspect of the risk program?
Yes, so throughout the summer, we have a variety of social events and outreach initiatives, as well as you have multiple people in your lab that act as a community towards you. So for example, we had a series of networking events where the scholars were able to meet people through the RI, so Robotics Institute, and SES, so the School of Computer Science. A lot of people came to those and they got to do speed networking events and different activities like that so that they were able to make those connections. We also had group lunches every week so that the scholars could go out with alumni from the program and learn more from them as well. And then we also did some fun activities too, like therapy dogs, to bring down the stress of doing research throughout the summer. The scholars were also introduced to their peer teams where they were assigned to work with other scholars in creating their own social event that they got to go and do on their own time, to be able to build the connections not only with people from the Robotics Institute, and CMU as a whole, but also the people within their own cohort.
I think that Morgan, something that I heard so often from the scholars was about how having that cohort and that community experience was so important, because in the summer it's a lot of exploration. You're growing a lot, you're learning new things, but having people around you that are going through that process and learning together, and maybe having different educational backgrounds or expertise, and then you're coming together. Why is that important as we, form community and we're trying to learn?
That's typically what sets riss apart from other programs, is that we take more of a focus in making those connections with the people in your cohort, because those are connections that they keep for the rest of their lives. So even whenever they're looking at grad school, a lot of them are working together now to make grad school spreadsheets and to give each other resources. So through those connections, they're able to learn about more experiences because they come from all over the world and all across the country. So they learn about schools that they may have never even heard of until they came to CMU and met people from those schools or people looking at those schools.
I think you mentioned something that is so important. It's we learn about you know, maybe so as part of the risk deliverables, you have a poster, you have a paper, and you have a video. And one of the things that's special about risk is that we reposition these not to be deliverables for the program, but to be outcomes that you're able to share for your next steps. And Morgan, you've seen examples of working that poster together or putting things together where you have that, it's not just a second set of eyes, but it's another expertise. What are some of the examples of, that you watched that, you felt led to, a growth as a scholar, as a researcher?
Yeah, so I think the scholars even went out of their way to make their own time to work together. So a lot of them, as it came time for deliverables, they were all reviewing each other's posters, and we have a platform called Slack where they can all speak to each other. And they also created their own group me so they could communicate, and through that they were sharing templates and working together of, oh, how can I improve my poster, and giving each other advice and helping them through. And whenever people were nervous about presenting, they were helping them work on their presentation and what to say. And you could even tell when they set up for the poster presentation that they would set up kind of with their group of friends so that they could support each other throughout the presentation as well.
Yeah, I think that some programs will have something like a best poster or best paper, and that creates a competition that where there's only one winner. And I think you explained it in such a great way where it's like, we're there because it's not just about that poster session or this journal. We're helping each other to transition from individual contributors to parts of research teams and launching into this broader community of robotics and AI research. And we do that together. And it's an important part of that. I remember some of the evening sessions that you set up in response to understanding and seeing like, wait, we need some more support here, right? And that way of coming together and building connections. I think one of the great things that Morgan as a team member has contributed is that you scaffolded a number of social and networking events, but it wasn't just like show up and then there's nothing. Instead, you really intentionally created opportunities for people to connect, to have comfort and, that connection. Is there anything you'd like to share about things you observed or, maybe some of the activities or outcomes that?
So I think the one thing that I noticed with the networking events is a lot of programs will have events where they kind of just throw people in a room and expect them to talk. And coming from a psychology background, I didn't want to have that because normally it fills the room with anxiety and people aren't as open to speaking with each other. So we had a lot of games where whether it was trying, one of the examples was trying to figure out where people were from in the world or in the country, only asking questions, and they had to mark it on a map. So they had a lot of fun and they got to learn a lot about each other through that activity. So it got the scholars to want to come out and want to speak to each other. So we would typically have around 50 to 60 people at every networking event come out and speak to each other, and they would leave and go get dinner together and continue those connections after the event as well.
I think that something that I've seen as part of the Summer Scholar Program is like, even now we're meeting weekly, working with each other, supporting each other. When you're applying for, graduate school, when you're trying to finalize a paper or poster for submission to a conference, these could be things that are really, stressful, or maybe it's something that's new or something. And when we're under those circumstances, working together, getting those additional supports, the outcome when we go through that process together is that the end results, the posters, the papers are better. They're well received. And we also have, like, we've grown through that process. So being in a research field, you need to be comfortable with giving and receiving feedback. And that's something that many of us earlier in our career as students, undergraduate students specifically, maybe we haven't had those experiences. So we're hoping that through this experience and coming together as a learning community, that you have that opportunity. I would like to encourage those that are joining us today, and we'll look at some of the questions that you might have. And we encourage you to put those in the chat. I'd really encourage you to go to the riss website to look at the research posters, to look at some of the videos, because what riss is a way to add to and to build upon existing research projects where you're going to have a concrete contribution, and you're going to be able to describe that. And it's about learning how to do research. And there are a ton of exciting outcomes. So one of the reasons that we're able to come together as a community is because of the commitment of the larger department and school. And there are really quite a number of remarkable mentors that are here that are working with the scholars directly, and whether that be faculty members, lab directors, graduate students, staff members, researchers. It's really a broad group that is coming together to try to support that. If you're interested in applying for the riss program, applications are open now. Um, I encourage you to go to the website, look at the research projects that we've done in the past, look at Robo Launch, which is one of our outreach projects, to see the type of activities that we do together. There's a lot of focus on sharing the robotics research resources that we do have, and opening those conversations up to broader groups. And I would really encourage you to carefully go through the FAQs and look at the program dynamics, and also look at eligibility. So to apply to the Summer Scholar Program, you need to be a student who is an undergraduate student. So the program is not open to high school students or graduate students. The program is specifically geared to work with undergraduate students. As an undergraduate student, the program accepts applications from both US and international applicants. Be very careful when you look at the eligibility. Any international student that is attending a US university as a undergraduate degree seeking student may apply to the riss program. So this means we're welcoming applications from US citizens anywhere in the world that they may be, and also international students that are attending US universities. If you are part of a partner network or a partner program for riss, and then you would want to speak to your local coordinator. And so that will apply to programs like with the German Academic Exchange Service, which is DAAD. So if you're coming from Germany, your application goes through that special channel there. And for students that are coming in from the country of Poland, there is a local network, and you're going to check in with your local coordinator on the process to apply as well. So we will continue to have a number of information sessions. We'll have conversations with alumni. We'll look at some of the research. The most important thing is to think about how your current skill set can contribute to the research projects, because there's a number of ways that you can come and you can engage and you can be part of the institute and part of the projects that are here. So we look forward to continuing conversations and to really exploring some ways that we can work together. There's going to be a number of scholars. We have a series of Okay. There we go. Sorry for the technical issue there. So it's been wonderful to connect with you today. We have a few minutes. You can share questions in the chat, and to learn more about the program. I'm going to go through some of the questions that are already there. You have a lot of really great questions. So I'm happy to host the session and to have conversations. The risk program specifically is the summer months for scholars, potential scholars from different partner institutions. There may be a possibility, depending on arrangements for alternative arrangements. So, Artur, I would check in with the lab specifically, but coming outside of the risk dates would then not have you as part of the risk program. So we had a question about applying earlier. Does it increase the chance of selection? Right? So we are reviewing applications. Alumni apply first to come back for a second summer and get priority there. Partner institutions also apply early, and there's some work, but there is no difference. What is most important is having a complete application. So say, for example, you apply on January 17th, it's the last minute and you apply, but you have a really strong application, no problem. What is most important, have you checked the FAQs to make sure that you're eligible to apply? Have you looked at prior research and connected that? And are all your materials in? And that includes your letters of recommendation. If you were to apply on January 17th, when the application is closed, but you get everything in, that's fantastic. If you were to apply maybe December 1st, but those recommendation letters are never received, then you are an incomplete application. It's a really great question, so I appreciate that. So there's a question about the possibility to continue research. So when you come in for the risk program, the time is set for the specific length of the program, and about 80% of the scholars continue to do research or collaborate with their labs. This is not set in advance, but instead is part of an potential outcome from participation in the risk program. So what about the faculty for each year? So the best way to see who really participates in the program is to look year to year at the posters, right? There's some faculty that really hope to participate, but it just hasn't been a possibility for several years, right? And the applications come through the program and through an admissions committee. So it goes through that process there. So what other questions might you have before we wrap up today? So we mentioned going to the risk website to make sure that you were looking at recent research projects, and we're trying to get the 2024 posters up for you. And there was really a tremendous amount of projects and everything. So we're going to be really excited about that. Do check the eligibility and absolutely check the deadlines and make sure that you can have a strong application in by the end of it. Yeah, so what is the process? So there's information online about the process. We will have hundreds, if not 1,000 applications, and we will only be selecting about 40 to 50 students to participate. We're looking for students that have had prior research or project experience, show that they are committed to a connected learning environment and want to join a cohorted program. We want to see that you've had experience with outreach, with community engagement. How are you involved? What kind of leadership positions have you had? Because we are coming together. And then there are a series of admissions reviews. And then finally, there is in the springtime, there is a final selection and re-review and batching of that. So thank you everyone for joining today. This was great to get a chance to hear some of your questions, and we look for opportunities to continue this conversation. Please do check the FAQs for eligibility for questions that you might have so that your applications are really strong. Take care and have a wonderful rest of your week.